Can the Bucks keep it rolling tonight in Toronto? They'll have to do so without their point guard. Camille and I preview the matchup coming up next on today's Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Bucks. My name is Justin Garcia, joined as always by Camille Davis. We thank you for making this your first listen of the day each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. You can hear me once again. You're number 11 on the Bucks Radio Network. You can find Camille on our Locked On NBA coverage every Monday on the Technical Foul podcast as well. And as we mentioned, Camille, just to get the housekeeping out of the way, we didn't nail down the plan, but I think we're going to do something probably tomorrow morning and recap each and every one of these games this season for the Bucks. So be on the lookout for that for a weekend show. We'll of course have the recap of Sunday's game coming to you on Monday. And by the way, as we were talking before we started recording too, you love to see it that the first two weekends of the season, we get a 5:30 tip, we get a 5 o'clock tip on a Sunday. Next Saturday, we get a 4 o'clock tip. Like, let's just lean into that. Go forward.
Yeah, these earlier games. And I know for the Sunday game against the Cavaliers, I'm sure everyone in Wisconsin is going to be very, very
Is there something
happy.
else happening?
Yeah, very, very happy that this Bucks game should be like the appetizer to an interesting Sunday night football matchup with the Packers and the Steelers. So it should be a good sports weekend. It feels like too in Wisconsin.
Should be a fun one. And we hope the game tonight is a fun one as well. I went back and watched. Obviously, I didn't see it in real time because the Bucks were playing at the same time, but had a chance to watch the Raptors-Hawks game. And one of the things that struck me, you mentioned it too, as we were getting set for the show, was, boy, the Raptors looked on both ends of the floor like what I expected the Hawks to be, or what you expected in the general sense, the Hawks to be this season with the soft makeover they did and everybody that they brought in. Toronto was the aggressive team. They were getting out and running. They were very aggressive. Like, I hate to even utter the name, but the way the defense played, Camille, it had shades of what Adrian Griffin wanted to do, where they were pressuring the ball. They were forcing turnovers. They were using that to fuel their offense and get out and run. And that's going to be something that's notable for this game tonight, because the Bucks did a very good job of protecting the ball against the Wizards. They had, I think 8 turnovers in that game.
Yep.
And we said before the game too, like, the ways to let the Wizards in this game: turnovers, rebounding, 3-point shooting. The Wizards do not do any of those well. They did not, save for rebounding in that game on Wednesday night. So if you let them win on those margins, now you've got yourself a game. The turnover factor, I do wonder how much that had to do with it was a Wizards defense that isn't great at ball pressure, and that is certainly going to change tonight against the Raptors. So you factor that in, and the fact that there's no Kevin Porter Jr. for this road trip. That is probably the biggest thing to circle and keep an eye on in this game.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest one, is internal. Like, how do you make up what you're trying to get from Kevin Porter Jr. In these lineups going forward? Who takes that spot in the starting lineup for Kevin Porter Jr. Over the weekend? Because what we know about his injury per the Bucks is that it's an ankle sprain. He will not be playing
much.
Right. It's not much at all. It's very, very little. But what we do know, ankle sprain, not playing against Toronto, not playing against Cleveland, will be reevaluated after that. So no real sense on how long they expect for KPJ to be out or anything like that. It's kind of just, we're taking it at this point a few days at a time. So I think in that starting lineup, that the guy you put in there, Ryan Rollins, seems to be the guy in my opinion, because I think that the playmaking and the shot creation from Cole is going to be very, very important for that second unit to maintain. Sucks that we won't be able to see the T-shirt twins, or I think I saw a comment too calling them Twin Turbo, Cole and
Turbo
Rollins.
Twins.
something. They need a name, but the two of them, Cole and Rollins, be curious to see how much they actually share the floor tonight because of the injury to Kevin Porter Jr. And also, I'm curious to see if that's the route that Doc goes, where it's a 1-for-1 replacement, or if he goes a little bit bigger, just because the Raptors themselves are a bit of a bigger team. Like Scotty Barnes, 6'7", 6'8". RJ Barrett's like 6'6". Jakob Poeltl's a 7-footer. Brandon Ingram's like 6'7" himself. So like it's a bigger team. So I am curious to see if Doc makes a switch that way, because he did throw out in training camp as well that lineups might be a little fluid depending on what they need. And he felt very comfortable with having some different options when it comes to size for matching up with bigger teams. So I am curious to see if tonight is just a 1-for-1 guard switch where it's like, okay, Porter's out, we're going to put Rollins in, or if he does something a little bit different, just trying to combat the size of Toronto.
I would certainly advocate for just doing the 1-for-1 switch, especially this early in the year. Like, we heard sample size preached throughout the offseason. You and I did it as well. So let's build up that sample size. I know KPJ is not going to be in the group, but let's build it up with the other 4 guys and just put in a new point guard here. I am curious if it's Cole Anthony or Ryan Rollins. I like Ryan Rollins with that group, the starters, because of his ability to be your point of attack defender, his ability to play off ball and be a catch and shoot guy as well. But I just feel like you need to maximize your ball handling. So this is one of the rare instances where I am torn of, I could actually kind of, going back to the summer and the episodes we did talking about why are people mentioning these names and talking about the role that they're going to play with the Bucks. And Cole Anthony was another one of them where people are like, oh, is he going to start for this team? It took one game, and now you're like, I don't know, maybe Cole Anthony will start this game tonight, and you just continue to bring Ryan Rollins off the bench. So I'm curious to see that. Like, look, we get it. Giannis is the de facto point guard of this team. You need more than Giannis.
Yeah.
That's going to just be able to dribble the ball, be able to handle ball pressure and initiate offense. So I am curious to see if it's going to be Cole Anthony or if it's going to be Ryan Rollins that gets the start tonight against Toronto. There's some other numbers that were just eye-popping. And again, sample size is key with this, but some insane numbers that we saw from that Bucks starting lineup. So I do want to get into some of that and a little bit of a closer look at this Toronto Raptors team as we move forward here. Coming up after the break on Locked On Bucks. Well, your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win. Not just on game day, every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and EFT options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood's advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, so expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. NBA season's heating up, and DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. Whether you're watching for highlights, your fantasy team, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game even better. And this season, DoorDash, the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, they're celebrating with something called the Bag Drop. Every time an NBA player scores 50 points in a game, DoorDash drops 50% of your order with Dash Pass the next day, and you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. We're talking player-inspired drip, exclusive gear, stuff you'll actually want. You don't just need food here for DoorDash. You can use it for other things. You can get everything from snacks and drinks to headphones, ice, even socks, all delivered. DoorDash has you covered for late night highlights, late night watch parties, and double overtime fuel ups. We've already seen 2 double OT games. And by the way, we've already seen 2 50-point scores. So get on this code today. Starting today, 50% off when you use the code NBA50. day after we see a 50-point game, which is today, 50% off on Dash Pass using DoorDash and that code NBA50 plus your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only. 50% off, up to $10 off the day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. 2 50-point games, right? 2 50-point
Yeah,
games.
Aaron Gordon and SGA.
My guy,
SGA's numbers through 2 games are crazy because they've both been double overtime games. So like he's averaging like almost 47 minutes per game right now, where he's because they've just been out here playing double overtime games. Like, it's been crazy.
My guy, the Wildcat legend, Aaron Gordon, too, with 50 points, 10 made threes, double overtime back-to-back games for OKC to start the season here. So tomorrow, who do they have tomorrow?
Who does who have?
I suppose pronouns are important, Camille. The Thunder. Who do they play tomorrow? Boy, this is great podcasting here as you listen to us stumble over the Oklahoma City Thunder schedule. The Thunder tomorrow have the Atlanta Hawks, so no pressure, Atlanta. We'll see if we can keep this double overtime trend moving forward here. So we mentioned there were some numbers that were just eye-popping. You and I were talking about this one yesterday. I think I tweeted it out as well. The obvious here that it is an extremely small sample size. And oh, by the way, as we outlined at the start of the show, and I think we all kind of knew coming into the season here, it's not a very good, at least at this moment, not a very good Washington Wizards defense. But I mean, that starting five was like a hot knife through butter against the Wizards defense in that game. They scored 1 point. It was, if we round up, 1.8 points per possession against that group. And it was only I think like 14 or 15 possessions because of the KPJ injury in the first quarter. But 1.8 points per possession is basically you're scoring a basket every single time down the floor.
Every time. When you sent me that number yesterday, I was like, that feels like legendary levels of just offensive production right there. Like, that's crazy to have that. Again, very small sample size with that starting group. But one thing we saw in this opening game, which I'm really curious to see how it looks against Toronto. Again, Kevin Porter Jr.'s injury does, change things a little bit. But the system itself, I'm curious to see how it looks against a bit of a better defense, because everything in the preseason that the Bucks had preached about they wanted to be about offensively, you saw it in droves against Washington. You saw the quick 3-pointers going up where they're putting threes up before 10 seconds even run off the shot clock. You're seeing the ball movement. You're seeing the pressure where you saw it last year where more teams were just starting to pressure the ball handlers, bringing the ball up the court, and the Bucks really didn't jump onto that trend. So seeing it in action a bit more this season, I mean, more teams are doing it. So it's just how the league is starting to trend, and the Bucks are getting in on that trend and seeing how they're pressuring. Toronto's going to be a really good test because, as you mentioned, how they looked in their opener against Atlanta and the numbers that they put up with their rebounding and with their size, they're going to test the Bucks in a really, really good way, I think. And it was a lot of fun conversation in the offseason with Sean Woodley over at Locked On Raptors about Bucks or Raptors. Bucks or Raptors. It's our first look at them. And it feels like, again, it's early, so you don't really know what to make of teams, but this is going to be a great test, and I'm curious to see how this Bucks offense looks and operates through that. Because one thing, too, with Kevin Porter Jr., his ability to touch paint, get into the paint, kick out, use that speed, create for others as well. We know Giannis can do it. We've seen the other guards putting that pressure on the rim. We've seen Kuz, even in the opener, doing that and trying to generate buckets that way. So just seeing it at practice and seeing how that offense looks in game two, missing a key piece, but with some guys and some depth behind them against a bigger squad with a bit more defense.
Yeah, I mean, all the first 3 threes that the Bucks made in that game came from paint touches, and that starting 5 was 5 of 7 on threes, 9 of 12 from the floor overall. So there was one instance where it was You had that KPJ getting into the paint and then whipping it out to Miles Turner, Giannis getting into the paint and then 2 passes afterwards to create threes. So, we saw it last year, and it's not like we're reinventing the wheel here that the
Right.
Bucks are the first team that's discovered, hey, it's kind of important to drive and collapse the defense. But you especially see it with the shooters that they've put on the floor there. So yeah, that's going to be imperative to just whoever it is initiating the offense to get into the paint and
Mhm.
keep moving. Because I think one of the other things that was I certainly heard quite a bit of it on my radio post-game show from some of the fans that were calling in and watched the game. It was obvious to the naked eye as well that, when the Bucks offense didn't continue to perform to those levels as the game went on, a lot of it had to do with we saw more dribbling and we saw
Mhm.
one pass only and just offense that was shades of what we saw a lot of a year ago. I don't disagree. I do think we also have to point out, well, yeah, I mean, that's not ideal, but I don't know. I'll cut them some slack, and I want to see how this goes game 2 because they were playing the final 3 quarters of this game without the guy that was starting at point guard.
Yeah,
And by the way, Cole Anthony 4 fouls in 4 minutes too.
which is crazy. He picked up 3 fouls in his very first stint on the floor, which changed things. And again, with the injury to Kevin Porter Jr., Doc said post game where he was like, I feel all right with Cole and Rollins stepping into that role. It's just that tonight it wasn't expected for them to have to also step into the role that Kevin Porter Jr. played when it comes to the minutes, which again brings back to the fouling aspect of it, where it's going to be imperative too. For those guys in particular to keep the fouling down because they're going to have to play a little bit more minutes, it seems like, going forward with Kevin Porter Jr. being out. So that's going to be important to them. And it was like I mentioned in postgame with Frank too. I loved AJ Green's comments in training camp about fouling. And the team said, like, there are certain fouls we're okay with because we're trying to be aggressive. And that's fine. We don't want to give them and ones and ticky tack stuff like that. But we're going to be aggressive. And eventually what they're hoping is that the league understands, hey, the Bucks play defense. Like, they're going to be physical, get the reputation a little bit. So then the whistle isn't blown as frequently. Like when you're watching the Thunder or things of that sort. And I'm not saying the Bucks defense is a Thunder defense, but the reputation that they have now. And you saw it kind of play out, especially in the playoffs when the whistle got even tighter and things weren't being called as much. So they got to keep at that and the pressure on them too. So I think Cole and Rollins will be able to do that, and especially now knowing like, hey, we're expecting now to play a little bit more than we initially thought.
Yeah, and to that point, it's kind of what the mission statement was from the Raptors too, and you heard this coming through on their game broadcast of their physicality. You saw some fouls early in the game against Atlanta, and the point was what you just said of like, we're fine with these fouls being called early because, number one, the old adage that you'd hear in the NFL and NBA too, like they're not going to call everything, but also to just kind of demonstrate like this is how we're playing. So if you're going to blow the whistle every single time, fine, but like this isn't just one possession where we're being physical. We're going to be this team that's physical and aggressive for 48 minutes, so get used to it. I think you are, to some extent, going to see both teams bringing in that play style in this game later on tonight. And, then it just kind of depends, I suppose, on who's the best player on the floor. I feel pretty good. I won't speak for you, Camille, but I'm going to roll the dice more often than not with Giannis being the best player on the floor and take my chances there. He was obviously, would you say superb against the Wizards? I think he was very good. 16 of 26 from the field. That does include 3 attempted threes, but it felt like this was also one of those games where you knew I don't need to put it into like 4th or 5th gear here. I can get what I want throughout the course of this. I know I got another level I can go to when I'm facing better defenses than this.
And that's the crazy thing about Giannis and his talent and his ability, because he had 37 points in the opener and it could have easily been 45. It could have easily been that because like the mid-range wasn't falling for him. And that's a part of his game that we know he's worked on. We saw proof in the pudding last year of the development that he's had in that area of his game. And against the Wizards, that shot wasn't falling. The foul calls against him weren't being called in the way that, he probably felt they should be. And there were times, even seeing it live, where you're seeing guys come across his arms and there's no foul call. And it felt to me like in the second half, after going through the whole first half of being officiated that way too, Giannis was like, okay, we're not calling fouls. Bet. I'm going through too. Like, okay, that's how we're going to do this. Cool. I can get down like that too. And you saw him really take off in that second half. I think he had 10 in the third quarter, like 14 in the fourth. So like he started really putting in that work, driving to the rim, getting physical. So yeah, I'm gonna put my money on Giannis being the best player on the court more times than not. And he only played 27 minutes in the opener or something like that. 30 minutes. It wasn't that many for Giannis in the opener. So knowing that he's going to be ramping up himself, we know he was sick coming into training camp. They've been trying to ramp up the conditioning for him too. And Doc mentioned that throughout the season, he wants to continuously try to ramp guys' minutes up. Where at the beginning, hopefully you're not going to be seeing many guys playing, 35, 37 minutes off top. Want to kind of work guys up to that, get them in that shape. So yeah, I always feel pretty confident with Giannis being that best player on the court. I'm curious to see the 3-point attempts from him in this particular game. Like, are we going to see him taking around 2 to 3 attempts a game this upcoming season? I'll be curious to see how that continues to track.
Curious is certainly a way to put it there. I do want to take a little bit of a look at that, and then what stood out, some other things from this Raptors game and the opponent that the Bucks have later on tonight. So we'll get into that conversation coming up next. Well, let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've heard all of them before. It's stress. You're tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. When it comes to performance, sometimes your body needs a little extra support, and that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. It makes getting started easy. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, so there's no awkward waiting rooms and no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. Process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's all about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's Rugiet, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. NFL season's here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. So you pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You'll love using FanDuel. Easy to download, easy to play. It gives you so many different ways to play. Parlays, player props, even follow the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. So whether you're a casual fan, diving into the numbers, following your fantasy team even, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. 27 minutes for Giannis in that game. 3 attempted threes. One of them came late. That was the make. One of them did come early. And was it the make where he really thought about it and kind of like, should I take it? Dribbled. Should I take it? And then did take it and ended up making it. I am very curious if this is hey, we're shooting threes. That's everyone. So if Giannis is going to go 1 of 4, we don't care, because we did see that basically eliminated from his game last year. So what's your stance on that? Is there a number of like, I never want to see you go over this number, or like, look, if it's in the flow of things, let Giannis take the shot?
I'm really more of a flow person, but if I had to put a number on it, like I think if we get to like,
is the absolute max for me.
You said how many?
3 would be the absolute.
I was going to say 4. I'll give you 4, where I'm like that. If once we start getting to this range, unless you have proven over the course of the season here where it's like I can knock down 35, 36% of these, then it changes the equation a little
Have
bit.
we seen that though?
We haven't. Exactly that though. So it's like it can get tricky, but I've always been more of a process over results person when it comes to basketball, because you can do the same thing, 10 times and you can get three different results can change. Like if it's a good shot, I tend not to be upset with it. Now the conversation becomes, is Giannis taking these threes considered a good shot based on what we've seen from him in the past, his shooting numbers from there. So there's an argument for that. The other part of it is like, yeah, it's Giannis. He's the superstar. He can get what, you kind of give him the heat checks, let him kind of play in the flow of the offense. But Doc himself even said, because Giannis made the joke of like, I'm trying to shoot these threes too. And Doc said, we got to see it in practice. Like, let's see it. See you make them. We see it. We're cool with you shooting them. So I think it's a little bit of give and take. Like if I had to put a number on it, I wouldn't want to see any more than 4 unless we see some kind of crazy growth in his shooting. But otherwise, just in the flow of the game, Giannis, like if it's wide open, sure, go ahead and try your luck a time or two. But we know where the money is for Giannis. It's in the paint. It's getting those paint touches and also even getting to that mid range. So just seeing how he continues to develop there. But the 3-point attempts for him is going to be interesting going forward after coming off a year last year where the shot diet seemed like he replaced a lot of those 3-point attempts with more mid-range attempts going forward. I think he averaged less than a 3-point attempt a game last season. I don't think he even averaged technically like 1 attempt a game last year. So curious to see what that number finishes at this season.
So what would you guess is the number of games, maybe you already looked this up, where he took 3 or more threes in a game last year?
I would guess that's very low, like 2?
4, yeah. 4 times that he did it last year. And I think 2 of those were late in the season too, where that was kind of the story all throughout that, oh man, Giannis is basically eliminating threes or, taking very, very few 3-pointers here. He had, I believe it was about, I think it was 30 games that he played where he did not attempt a 3 last season. So like that to me is the other one to track and see, okay, how many of these games did he only do that? And he played 67? He played the minimum for the awards last season.
2 over.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. 50 of those games, he attempted 1 or 0 threes. So that is going to be something to see. Is that something that increases here for Giannis this upcoming season? And by the way, the Bucks were 2-2 in those games where Giannis took 3 or more threes or attempted 3 or more threes in a game last season. The Raptors, conversely, and one last thing on Giannis here, 27 minutes and 37 points. So a nice, basically, if we round up 50 points per 36 minutes that he's averaging here, I think we will all certainly take that. The Raptors, meanwhile, their success came as we mentioned, RJ Barrett had a big game. There was no answer for him defensively for a Hawks team that is,
you would think,
rife with defensive wings that could be those stoppers here. But Barrett scored 25 efficiently, 9 of 12 in 30 minutes. And then Grady Dick, 21 off the bench. Scotty Barnes picked up as the game went on. Watching the game too, it felt like, okay, so Brandon Ingram is like going to finish their leading scorer. He finished with only 16 points, but similar to the Bucks, all 5 starters scored in double figures, 2 guys in double figures off the bench, and they did not shoot the 3 well at all. Neither of these 2 teams did. The Raptors were doing their damage in the mid-range and then just getting out and running in transition.
Yeah, and that's how they're going to operate. I think that Brandon Ingram, even though he finished with 16 points, you said in that game, I believe wasn't he their leading shot attempt? Like he had the most shot attempts, I believe, on 16. The team. So I think the offense is still going to kind of like flow through him, quote unquote. But they have a few guys, as you pointed out here, who are going to really try to make their presence known. And for me too, with Toronto, Because you mentioned like the amount of 3-pointers that they missed. Like, they were still on the offensive glass quite a bit in that game, giving themselves second, sometimes third opportunities to try to cash in on a possession. So I think in addition to, they're going to try to put the shots up. They only shot 25 threes in their opener, which feels quite, 2006-ish of them. So,
but you look at this group too, and like,
yeah,
I don't know where the volume is going to come from. Like, yeah, you got Grady Dick, obviously. Isaiah Quickly has never been bashful about attempting threes, but that's not really Brandon Ingram's game. RJ Barrett can, but he's not a high volume 3-point shooter. And Scotty Barnes, I think the jury's still out on his deep shooting ability. So that is the interesting thing here is like they want to score in the paint and create those opportunities on fast breaks, mid-range too from Brandon Ingram. So their starters in that game attempted 13 threes and 7 of those came from Isaiah Quickly. You had Scotty Barnes attempting none, Jakob Poeltl obviously none. So like that's the advantage area for the Bucks. Protect the ball, and if you hit threes, just play the math game against this Raptors team.
Yeah, because the math game should be in the Bucks' advantage when it comes to where they're trying to get their shots from. But to your point, this is going to be a game too where it feels like Miles and Giannis and the big rotation is also tested because to your point about Toronto, where like to get their points, 86 of their 138 points against the Hawks were in the paint. So they definitely like to try to be the bully ball, like try to get to the paint. They like to try to score there too. So I think it's going to be a test on them. Like we saw Miles Turner with 4 blocks in the opener there. So
well, officially 3. I could have sworn when I looked at the halftime box score, they had him at 4. So
it was 4
one of those came off along the way.
All right, however they want to play it. What we saw was the 4, but no. I think it's gonna be a good test for them too, because even in the debut, like I know Miles talked more offensively about like the adjustment of playing in Milwaukee, where he was like, man, sometimes I'm feeling like I'm shooting too many times. But his teammates like, you're open, like you have to continue to shoot. But defensively, and just seeing how him and Giannis's chemistry continues to develop, is going to be an interesting subplot going throughout this year too. Because one thing with the loss of Brook Lopez, that's when people talked about was on court communication. Brook was really back there being a general and making sure everyone knew where they were communicating. And that's something that has surprised by reports. Members of the Bucks were like, I thought Miles was kind of quiet, but on the court, no, he is communicating everything. So it's going to be a good test on a few different fronts, an early season test for the Bucks. And I mean, because even after the Raptors game, then going to Cleveland, and that's Cleveland's home opener against the Bucks on Sunday. And then what is it? After that, you have the Knicks.
Tuesday, the Knicks. Like and then Thursday, the Warriors.
It's a tough 4-game slate coming up for the Bucks. So this is where it gets fun. We're like, we can kind of see it on court, see how the test looks, see how it looks early on. So Toronto's going to be a great one, I think, for the team.
Bucks also one game, but dead last in offensive rebounding rate. And that is an area with, you mentioned it too, the Raptors really excelled against the Hawks team that has a lot of size. 33% rebounding rate on the offensive glass for the Raptors. So keep an eye on that one as well. And the second chance opportunities and points that are created by Toronto in this game via their offensive rebounding, because they had 19 second chance points coming from offensive rebounds. So second chance points, getting out and running with fast break points as well. That's where the Raptors want to win. We know the Bucks can shade more towards running and fast break points, but they want to win with threes. So in that sense, it should be a nice clashing of styles later on tonight. 5:30 tip. So it's going to be an early one tonight. I think we'll do something tomorrow morning. Probably my radio duties are going to take me until about 9:30, and nobody wants a Friday night. Camille, with the social life that she doesn't need to be anchored down.
Let's not hype this up.
10 o'clock start here, but we'll have something tomorrow morning recapping this one tonight. If you can't wait and you want an immediate post-game show, you can join us on the radio side after the Bucks Radio Network wraps. We got a local post-game show you can find on YouTube and on our flagship station, WTMJ, as well. But should be a fun one tonight and really for the next week with those matchups we just went through. Raptors, Cavaliers, even the banged up Cavaliers, a nice little test for the Bucks. What we've seen from the Warriors the first 2 games to start the season, and then the Knicks game is that We're not already into NBA Cup season on Tuesday, are we?
No, I think that's
The
technically like a
following
November
week
start.
or so? Okay, yeah. But nonetheless, should be a stretch of fun games here to recap for the Bucks. That'll do it for today's show. Leave your thoughts, leave your predictions on tonight's matchup, and we'll see what comes true from those. For Camille, I'm Justin, and we'll talk with you guys once again tomorrow after the Bucks and the Raptors on Locked On Bucks.